And I appreciate you joining. And I just want to make sure that you can hear me okay. And I'd love for you to type in. You have the ability to ask questions throughout the webinar. And I'd love for you to type in and just tell me where you're from, maybe how the weather's doing, how the real estate market's doing. And that way I will know that I'm broadcasting loud and clear. Good morning, Joe. And I see Yvonne is from California. I see Felisa, you're up in Chicago. Welcome. Princeton, New Jersey, New York, and cloudy. It is cloudy here as well. Lou says it is very hot in Portland. Welcome, Lou. And we have Banning, California, Stockton, California, hot there as well. San Diego, Kim, we are all going to come out there for the National Association of Realtors Conference and Expo. I think they like to pronounce it that way. So, Kim, I love San Diego. I love California, Florida as well. I see folks there. Weather's cloudy in Bluebell, Pennsylvania. That's a neat name for a city. I like that. Des Moines, Iowa, Lubbock, Texas. I see Sam in Venice, Florida. I'm just going down through and looking at a few. Couple more from San Diego, so welcome. And Donald is from Boston. The weather's good there. All right. Judy from Hawaii. Aloha and good morning. It's early there, Judy. And you're probably drinking some of that really good Hawaiian coffee right now. I think I know you, Judy. I think I do. Your name looks familiar, so. All right. Well, I have right at 11 o'clock, so we'll get started. Thank you all again for giving me a shout out. And now that you have been accustomed to the chat box, if you have some questions, Valerie from RPR is on the call and she will be typing and looking at your questions and she will be answering those as we go throughout because we literally have over 1,700 people who signed up and the numbers keep going up and that's great. And first thing I want to do is a couple of items. We won't actually be able to unmute you because sometimes it can get a little bit crazy when we try to unmute folks during a live webinar like this with feedback. So just type your question in. I do want you to know that you are more than welcome to reach out to me after the webinar. I have no problem helping. In fact, I love to help people. And so I go by the Business Tech Guy, and actually my website is businesstechguy.com. So if you have any questions and you want to email me, I'll try to throw my email address up at the end as well. Or you're welcome to call. There's no charge. I just believe if you help other people out, you always receive back. So again, thank you for joining. My last little house cleaning item is that my computer has been, the last 2 days, has been doing some really strange things. And one of the things, well, I mean, and there's no viruses. I've run a check on that. I don't know if there's some hardware. It's a MacBook, but it has just turned off out of no reason at all and reboots. Now, if that happens and you lose me, do not hang up because my computer will boot back up. I'll log right back in and it won't take me very long to get logged back in and I can continue on. So if for some reason I disappear, I apologize in advance, but don't feel like you have to hang up. I'll be back on within a couple, 3 minutes, but we'll hope that doesn't happen. So again, my name's John Mayfield, and I'm one of you, okay? I'm a real estate sales associate, a real estate broker. I had my own company, 3 offices and 40 or 50 agents. I can't remember. I think it was close to 50 at one time or another. It fluctuated like most companies, but had a really good company. I loved my folks. I love being a real estate broker. I got my license at the age of 18 in 1978. So you can do the math, and some of you have said, I think he's 55, and that's right. I crammed 4 years of college into 5, and I sold my company in 2006 because I thought the grass was greener on the other side of the hill. And I went over on the other side of the hill, and I'm here to tell you, just stay right where you're at. I went to work in the banking field and walked into work one day, and the gentleman who hired me had left the company, and the second guy in charge decided to go in a whole different direction. So within months, I ended up unemployed with a non-compete clause, the only thing I'd ever done for, since I was 18. And my wife and I owned a pick your own blueberry and blackberry farm. And so that was a savior for me. However, that same year, we had a 3-day spring freeze that got down to 17 degrees. We lost our entire blueberry blackberry crop. So now I'm unemployed with a non-compete clause, no farm crop, and I'm $1 million in debt. Hey, we're having fun now, as Steve Martin would say. But you know what? Life throws curveballs at you and you just pick up and keep going. So I kind of had to move away from my town to sell real estate. Of course, the market's tanking, and I started teaching and speaking full time and doing a lot of technology things. But I tell you that story because I've always had a passion for real estate, and I reopened my office when my non-compete clause was up and we decided to move back home. And I just work on my own. I'm a virtual real estate broker, you could say. I'm a paperless broker, but I'm working with buyers and sellers just like you. And I tell you that whole story as a setup because I want you to know that I use this product and I like it a lot. And I'm a technology geek, I guess you could say. I love technology, and that's what I normally teach about. And this product is really a great tool for you as a member of the National Association of Realtors. So I just have a few PowerPoint slides, and then I'm going to get right in and show you how to use RPR. So the first thing I want to really tell you about is we're going to just cover some basics in this class. We have several other really good courses you can take that will go into more advanced topics. However, I am a technology and a marketing guy, so I like to kind of sneak a few cool things in that maybe other instructors don't talk about in the basics class. But I want to show you that I'm pushing the envelope on RPR, and you could do some really fascinating, very tech savvy things with this tool that we're going to talk about today. So I'm going to show you how to use RPR with sellers and buyers, how to create reports. We'll look at how you navigate around RPR, and then I'm going to help you kind of show you where you set up your account, how to customize your profile, and most importantly, where to get help. Now, what is RPR? That's kind of the question that a lot of people ask me all the time. Is what is RPR? And I want to make sure that I am showing my screen, and it says I am, because one time I was about 10 minutes into the program and realized I had not shared my screen. So what is RPR? And it is a national platform of parcel-centric property information, over 166 million parcels across the U.S. Now, I don't know if you were like me. I told you I crammed 4 years of college into 5. I took my college algebra class my senior year, spring semester, and wrote an essay on why I should pass my algebra course. And I got a C minus there. I mean, I asked her for a D minus, and I got a C minus. So I guess I was better at writing than I was algebra. But what this really means, parcel-centric property information, is that most of the properties in RPR are really, it's kind of like your city, and it's all been platted out, and you can go find almost any property in your city in RPR. Now, what do I mean by that? I have a house listed right now. They're friends of mine. I've known these people since I was a little boy. Now, I was born in 1960. These folks bought this home in 1952. They were our neighbors. I knew their family for years and years and years. He passed away recently. She went into a nursing home. Their 2 boys listed the property with me. And I was able to go into RPR, put in that property address, and RPR gave me all the information about that property, including giving me a suggested list price. So that's what we mean by this parcel-centric property. These folks had never, ever put their property in the multiple listing service. Yet I was able to go into RPR and find that information. And we mentioned in the second bullet point that it's delivered through a cutting-edge application. I don't know the exact number. I've been told there are over 300. There's a lot of different pieces of data that are being put into RPR. If you want to know employment information, it's in RPR. If you want to know how many people vote Republican or Democrat, it's in RPR. If you want to know how many days of sunshine are in your zip code, you can find that in RPR. In fact, there are attorneys today in your county where you live who are going to the courthouse and they're filing that unfortunate um, paper to begin or start a pre-foreclosure today. Tomorrow, that information will be in RPR. So that's what we mean by RPR is this cutting edge application. And Valerie, I don't know if maybe you might want to mute your phone or not. I'm getting a little bit of feedback somewhere, or maybe you could check the the calls. So that's what we mean by a cutting edge application. There are So I'm getting a little bit of feedback and I'm trying to find out where that's coming from, and I apologize because we'll try to mute that
Hi, John.
call.
This
Yes.
is Valerie. I am muted. It looks like everybody else is muted, so I'll work on researching the issue of why we're hearing feedback because I'm not exactly sure, but I'll work on it.
Okay, good. Thank you. Okay, so apologize about that. So that's what we mean by this cutting edge application. You do not have to go out and search for this information. RPR has arranged and worked with folks so that that information can be brought and put into one central database. So it's really a very cool cutting edge application. And I kid you not, it would take you hours upon hours to go out and look up and search all of the information you have available in RPR, and it's available in one specific place. Now, the great thing is it's exclusively for realtors, realtor members, and there's no charge to realtors. However, I do like to remind you, I mean, it's included with your dues dollars that you pay. There's no additional charge. I'm not here to sell anything at the end of this program, and consumers or the public do not have access. It's strictly owned by RPR. So it is a research tool, it's a pricing tool, it's a farming and prospecting tool, it's a listing presentation tool, and it's all in one place. And you will really like what you're going to see. One more PowerPoint, and we're going to get right into the program. I need to kind of explain what an automated valuation model is and the realtor's valuation model. You already know what an AVM is. I was showing a house last September. I'd never met the people. They called me up, wanted to look at one of my listings. I go down to the property. It's out in the country. I get out of the car. I say, "Hi, I'm John Mayfield." And he said, "How come this house is only worth X number of dollars on X website?" Have you ever had that happen before? It's like what a way to be greeted. And by the way, I had my house listed for 119.9. The AVM he saw online said my house was worth 89,000, and I explained to him the difference. And they purchased that home and paid 114.9 for that house. Now, why was that AVM off? Because if you'll look underneath the AVM model, it specifically says the value estimate calculated is only using publicly available information. And in Missouri, we're a non-disclosure state, as many of you may be, which means public sales are not recorded. So unfortunately, this AVM did not have a lot of good data. And what's interesting is we've created what's called the realtor valuation model, which takes the public data as well as the MLS data. So it makes it much more robust and much better. And by the way, both of these values are computer generated. The RVM allows you as the real estate professional to use your experience and your knowledge to fine tune that price. But I want to tell you what, in my experience, that RVM gets pretty close. 90% of the time in my little old small rural area. And the more we put more data into RPR and the more that model and algorithm gets refined, I think the more accurate that price will be. Now, we still can go in and fine tune that, as I'll show you, but it's a very interesting application and it really works. Now, folks, I want to tell you one thing, and I'm in the same shoes you're doing. I am listing and selling real estate. I do speak a lot and I train and travel, but I like to be in the business doing what you're doing because I love this business. And last year I sold 5 properties. I counted up 5 properties I would not have closed without RPR. And I know people look at me in a live class and they say, well, John, how can you say that? Or what's the unique characteristic? And I was listening to a gentleman on an MP3. Joe Polish is his name. He's a famous internet marketer. And Joe made this comment as he was being taught. It was a guy was interviewing him about why he's so successful. And Joe said on that MP3, and it really hit home with me. He said, there's only one difference between a dollar bill and $100 bill. Now think about that. There's only one difference between a dollar bill and $100 bill. They're both made out of paper and they both have ink on them. But Joe said it's the message. And when I heard that, I said to myself, that's why RPR works, because it's a message. And I'm just telling you here today, I'm delivering a message that's totally different than my competition because I'm using RPR and I use it all the time. And that message gives me a competitive advantage and has helped me close more transactions, get better price reductions, and just overall improve my real estate practice. So let's get in and take a look at how you can use RPR to get started. So the first thing I want to show you is if you go to narrpr.com. I know I'm in Missouri. I wanted to be a disc jockey, and I remember playing James Taylor's Up on a Roof, and I said, and that's James Taylor up on a roof. And the program director came in and said, did you say rough? And I said, I'm sorry. So I'll repeat that again. It's NAR, like the National Association of Realtors, RPR.com. NARRPR.com.
Early afternoon. The number again, 728.
So I think, Valerie, we're getting somebody else's webinar on which is kind of odd, but okay, so here's the home screen. Now, some of your MLSs may have you actually a button you can click on, like I'm a member of the St. Louis MLS, and we literally can click on a button and it will take us right into RPR, or I can go into the MLS. I do want to show you my logo here in the top left. Brokers or agents, tell your brokers if you are not seeing the company logo here, that can be branded free of charge. And this is very impressive when you're out working with customers or clients. And I was working with some folks just last week, buyers, and we were on RPR looking at the property that they decided to purchase to make sure that I felt comfortable with the purchase as a buyer's agent. So you want to make sure that's branded. I'll show you how to do that at the conclusion. Now here's our home screen, and we're going to take some time and just look through each one of these. First of all, we have all properties. That's everything in your marketplace. So if you search all properties, you're going to get every parcel that's in your marketplace. It's going to be a pretty big number. If you search for sale, that's going to actually move you over to really mirror what's in the MLS. Now, either one of these tabs right here, I can search by zip code. You'll notice it auto-populates. That's where I live. Or I can search by city. So I'm going to type in Scottsdale, Arizona. I can drill down by zip code as well within Scottsdale. I can even search by county. So this is my county, St. Francis County, Missouri, right there. So you have the ability to search for properties by city, zip code, county. I can even search by street address. So if you want to type in 113 Smith Street, Anytown, Missouri, and the zip code, it should bring you right to that property. Now, you need to be on this all properties. But remember the folks I told you earlier that I've known since I was a little boy, and their house had never been listed, and I just put it on the market? That property, I was able to go to all properties, and I was able to search by their zip code, by their property address, and it pulled up the property, and it also gave me a suggested list price. Now, that doesn't mean, please listen closely. That doesn't mean we take that price as the gospel, okay? We've got more work to do. And we want to put our experience and our knowledge of the marketplace, but it at least gives us and puts us in the right direction. So everybody's with me on that. Now, it does say that you can search by MLS, listing ID, some other choices. I just want to give a disclaimer that I've tried some of the listing IDs and have not had really good luck. So to me, you're better off to try to really stay focused on the city and zip code, but you can give it a try. You never know. It might work very well for you. So that's all properties. These are properties for sale. I can even search by neighborhoods or zip codes. So if I just want to find out, I think that was Bluebell, Pennsylvania. I said was a real pretty, if I wanted, sounded like it was Bluebell, there it is, Pennsylvania. I think that's where we have someone on. Now, notice I'm just searching neighborhoods. I cannot get the MLS information for Bluebell, Pennsylvania, because I'm not a member of their MLS. But we can go right to Bluebell and begin to look at the real estate market and what's going on. And if I wanted to even drill down in Bluebell, if I had someone being relocated to Bluebell, this is a great report to send them. I can see right here that 56.6% of the people vote Democrat in Bluebell, Pennsylvania. And you may say, well, John, where'd they get that information? Everything's footnoted in RPR. So everything has a reference, where they got the data, where it's from, where they're pulling it, and even how often this is being pulled annually. So you can see that these reports, and I'm going to go back over here to the home button, these neighborhood reports are ideal reports for you to be able to share with people who are relocating into your community from another area. You can send them a really nice report, and I'll show you more information about that in just a minute. Now, we can also search by market activity. Years ago, I've been practicing real estate, believe it or not, pre-MLS days in our area, back when you got a new listing or a price reduction, you drove around town and handed it off to real estate offices. And then we went to an MLS that was a three ring binder that we got every 2 weeks you got the new listings, and everybody, it was like, and then we went to the computer and so forth. But at one time we really had a computer system, and every morning on the fax machine you'd get this really cool hot sheet for what happened over the last 24 hours. And maybe we can still get that with our MLS. I don't know. It's a little bit more complex or complicated, but look at this market activity report and go back the last week and go into I'm going to go to Scottsdale, Arizona, and I'll go to this zip code. And I'm going to, again, the last week, I have everything checked. What I'm really getting is a market activity report for what's happened in Scottsdale, Arizona over the last week. And I can go up here to reports, the top right here. I'm on market activity report, and I can come down here and say, I want to see that market activity report for the past week. And now I can print this out. I'll check this box, get the report, and I can sit on my iPad on Sunday night and I can familiarize myself with what's happened in my local marketplace. So it's really a cool little market report. Now I can close that tab and go on and keep working. And by the way, here's another cool thing to do. I told you I like to show you some advanced items. Uncheck pending sales, expireds, recent sales, distressed, and open house. Now I'm looking at new listings and price changes, and I just want to do the last week. I can literally create this report and push it out to all of my buyers who are looking for properties in my marketplace. Now, our MLS does this as well, but what kind of message the report that this generates for you is unbelievable. And I'll show you some reports here in just a little bit. But in fact, let me just show you what I've done on my website. If you go to my website and you go to any one of these communities, in this case, I'll go to Park Hills. I actually have embedded the flyer or the property right into my website. And this is what the report looks like that you're going to share with people. Much more robust and professional than what you get in your multiple listing service. And I can come down here and I can share this on Facebook, LinkedIn. I can tweet this out. I can embed this and put it on my website and so much more. So this is through my communities. And if you look here, I've actually embedded a neighborhood report for every community. And again, I sincerely apologize about the background noise. I have no idea if someone if you look at your computer, you can tell if your screen is on. Maybe they finally muted. There we go. So that is one way to search for properties. Again, market activity. And one other thing I'll show you here. If you uncheck show all and you check new distressed and you want to search Scottsdale, Arizona, and I want to get new distressed over the last month, and I hit search. Now, this is like Geraldo Rivera when he opened up the vault, okay? We watched the show for 2 hours and there was nothing there. Sometimes technology does that to you, but we'll see if I would prefer there would be no pre-foreclosures there because that means but here are some pre-foreclosures in Scottsdale. In the last month, there are 45. Now you can go in and access these and look at them. And some of those may be listed, some of them may not. So that's how you can look up pre-foreclosures is you can go to market activity, just uncheck all of them and check new distressed. Now, these will come up as well. When we go to the search tab, you're going to notice these are recent activities here. And by the way, I can sort these by various options. I usually sort by recently updated. And if you'll notice, everything's color coordinated. Light blue is a home for sale. As we scroll down, dark blue is sale pending. If we have a wine color, it's a pre-foreclosure sale pending. And if you have a bright red, it's pre-foreclosure. And RPR will always tell you the colors over underneath the map. So I did a search in Phoenix, Arizona. There were 6,861 properties. I sorted those by recently updated. And when I go into one of these properties, I'm going to just go to the next tab. I pulled up this property on 39th Street in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, there's a couple of things I want you to look at on the screen, and I'm going to open up a little program that I have just so we can take a look at this. So I need to, first of all, make this a little smaller. Okay. So right here, we have the list price. See that? And right here, we have the current RVM. Now, I know I took college algebra, and I would get home to work on my homework, and I would say, what did the teacher say? I can't remember what RVM means. Well, you're in luck with this program, because you can put your mouse right over the eye and it will tell you what the RVM means if you forget. So anytime you see something, you can hover your mouse over their little blue eyes, and the program will give you an explanation. Now remember, the RVM is the realtor's valuation model. And it's different than the AVM, the automated valuation model, because the AVM only takes public information. The RVM takes the public information and the MLS. So it's actually being a much more precise algorithm or computer model, because it's able to use uh, public data and our private MLS data to find out, well, what could this house possibly be worth based on this computer model, if that makes sense. Now, some of you, just to back up, and I normally mention this, some of you may be saying, well, John, why do we even have these AVMs, or why did we have to develop an RVM, and what's the whole purpose behind this? And what I meant to tell you earlier is that the AVMs, remember that gentleman who said, how come this house is only worth that much money? There are banks, county assessors, insurance companies, investors, and people who have been purchasing AVMs for a long, long time. They pay a lot of money for it. And really, they hurt our industry, you and I as practitioners trying to sell real estate, because you've got people saying, well, I wonder what my portfolio of properties is worth. And you've got a company over here saying, oh, we can generate you some automated valuation models and tell you what your portfolio is worth. Here, we've got a product, we'll sell it to you. And so they take the money and they give them a lousy product. And I shouldn't use the word lousy product, but they give them a product that's only able to look at the public data. And so the realtors, the National Association of Realtors, said, we've got to do something about this, because if people want this, let's try to develop a better product, a better system. And so that's where this RVM came about. Now, let's go back to this RVM that we're looking at right here. And I'm noticing this is a lot higher than this property. I sold a house last week, wrote a contract on a house last week. We looked at a number of houses. And by the way, I use the RPR mobile app in every showing. And a lot of the houses I looked at, the RVM was less money than the list price. The house my folks wrote on, which I thought was a great deal, the list price was less than the RVM. So my folks, after educating them on this tool I had, realized, and we did some further work, they got a really good deal on the house, I think, that they're purchasing. So we need to find out, well, how did the computer generate this price? So let's dive a little deeper here. The first thing we can do is click on View Details. So if I select View Details, I'm going to actually see my subject property, whether you're working with a buyer or a seller, and I can see all of the comparables that the RVM used to generate that price. So there's a lot of comps there. However, remember, we get to use our experience and our knowledge. So we're gonna fine tune this a little bit more when we come up to refine value. It gave us a 5-star. We can put our mouse over the eye. I'm going to scroll down. I've got basic facts here. And I have this mapping feature here. So I can click on the bigger map and I can actually now look at the neighborhood and see what's going on. And by the way, if I want to go to a Google view and look at it from a map view, this is in Phoenix, Arizona, I can do that as well. Here's my subject property right there. Here's a property for sale down the street. Here's a property that's sold down the street. By the way, I can just drive in and dive a little deeper. This is where we're going at, folks. This is called big data. And this is where we will actually be able to go in and look at what's happening in a marketplace. When we go out to list a house, we'll just be able to look right and look in the neighborhood. Now look at this. I can come right below the map. I can go in and say, well, I wonder what's been going on in that neighborhood over the last 12 months. Here's my subject property. It's zooming out a little bit, but it's put an overlay. Now you'll see some red area and some blue area. And if I go below the map right here where my mouse is moving around, you can see that red and darker red property values have declined over the last 12 months. If they're in blue, property values are going up. I went out to list a house. The lady got really mad at me when I told her what I thought her house was worth and price. Do you guys ever have those type of clients or customers? She was kind of offended at my price. Now, I had a map there. Remember I talked about the message? This map where my community was total dark red and her house was right in the middle. And when I showed her this map and I visually explained it's not just you, it's the whole area, she understood what was going on. Now, I didn't list that house, and that's okay because I'm in my older age. I don't have to take every listing that's out there. In fact, I'm learning to turn away more business. And last year was my best year ever in 37, 36 plus years as a real estate professional. But I really think it's because I'm trying to work smarter. And this little tool right here, these overlays, can tell you what's going on. By the way, some of you will like this one. I can even, and we're in Arizona, so there's no little bit of floodplain here, but we're able to look at the floodplains in your community. And you say, where'd they get that information, John? Remember, everything's footnoted right there, and it's coming from FEMA. So use these overlays depending on your location. I'm in a rural area, so a couple of these work real well for me. A couple of these don't work very well for me because I'm just in a small area. But if you're in a larger area or like Phoenix where you've got bigger subdivisions, you might find that these are really advantageous. Now, the other thing I will mention here, while we're on the bigger map, this is what I've done in my area. I went right up here. I can do any of the drawing tools. So if you do a polygon map and you start here and you just map this out, you know that this is a subdivision that's in your area called Grand Heights. And that area, we all have that. I've got some areas in my community that properties that sell in this subdivision are unique to themselves. Look at this. I can save that and I'll call this Grand Heights subdivision. And now whenever I want to search for properties in Grand Heights or I'm doing a CMA, I literally can go right into that search because I've saved that in Grand Heights. And by the way, if you're farming an area, you can go do a market report like I showed you earlier, and you can send that out to everybody in your farm area. Or more specifically, put it on your website and send a link. Go and try to get email addresses or send a postcard and say, if you go to mayfieldre.com/Grand Heights, you can find out the latest information and what's going on in your subdivision. So those are just some cool things that you can do right there. And by the way, all of my recent properties I pulled up are right here, so I can go right back to that property and be right on the first page where we were a minute ago. Okay, so I want to go on down. Heat maps is really cool. Bigger map, you can just select bigger map. By the way, you can do drive time and distance. I've got a fireman that has to live within 5 miles of the fire station. That's a great tool there. And then I've got all of the contact information to the listing agent, his email address, All of that's right there. And look at this. Another one of my favorite features is the compare historical records. So here's my property listed today. And here it was back in March of 2015, but I want to go all the way back to 2004. There may not be a picture there, but I can go back and look at the information when that property was in the MLS back in 2004. And by the way, some will go back to 2013, and there's a photo. So now we're looking at the property on the right in 2013, and on the left, its current listing. And I can actually go through and look at the different pictures of the house inside and see what might be different. I was teaching RPR in Columbia, Missouri, and the folks had put new carpet just like this. And when we went back to 2008 and we're looking at this house, we noticed there were hardwood floors underneath the carpet. Sometimes you have a foreclosed home, it's empty. You can go back and look at it when it was in the MLS and it had furniture in it. So just kind of an interesting thing that you can do there, and see this looks like it was empty at that time. So you can literally kind of get a comparison of what this house looked like with furniture and when it doesn't have furniture. Again, that's right over on the right, historical records, and those will all be there from your MLS. And then we can scroll down and begin to look at homeowner facts. I can compare the county information to the MLS. I can even say they took one of the walls out between the bedrooms. There's only 3 bedrooms there now. And I can change that. And notice right here where it says your changes, I want you to know this. Any changes you make here stay in your RPR. Okay? No one else will see those. So I could be working on a property evaluation on this, and someone else could be, and we could be making changes, and they stay in our own RPR account. I also love this feature right here because I can add notes. And what I do is add my notes, and then when I go out to their house, I save the report because it's like 70 or 80 pages. It's a big report. I don't print it out. I'm a paperless office. But when I'm out in the field, I use my iPad, and I'm a visual person, so I circle those notes. If I want somebody to know something specific, I want to highlight it or circle it on my iPad to draw attention to that. So you can use your finger and you can highlight. This is a good chart. This helps me tell the story a lot. This has helped me a lot. And what I've done is I'm comparing my listing house versus the zip code. Okay. I just sold a $262,000 home in my area. Average sales price is around 103. Here's where my folks, actually, this is my subject property right here, this gold line. Mine was up here. Whoops, right here. Go back, and my folks were right up here. And here is, this is what's going on in the marketplace. Now, what I was able to do and explain to my folks is this, and you can do this with a seller too. You've got a nice home, and I want you to know there are people out there looking for homes like this, but here's where the average is for our zip code. And so keep in mind, we're at the high end of the market, and we may not have as many folks looking at your house because really most of the buyers are down here. And see how I'm able to use that visually and explain that? It just, my people understood, and when we got a good offer, let me tell you what, they worked really hard and we got it together because they knew where they were in our marketplace. So that's a good little map, and you can check those boxes. What's worked well for me is comparing my house to the zip code, because I want to get the county and the state off the map. And I want us to focus on our local marketplace. Now I can see price change, listing details, interior details, location, schools, financing, homeowner information, legal description. Look at this. I can even download the plat. Now that's not in every marketplace, but I'm sure it will be there eventually if it's not in your market yet. So if I want to download the plat to the property, it's right there. And here's all the mortgage information right here. I don't have to go anywhere else. I listed a house last fall, and I knew by looking at the mortgage records that they were upside down in their house. And it gave me some really good talking points and helped me be able to prepare. And they were more than aware they were going to have to bring money to the closing table. So that's the information there, and the tax information. All of that information right there. Plus, there was more information at the bottom right-hand side. Now, let's go over to history, and I'm just going to go through these tons of graphs and charts. You can add notes. If you say, where'd they get this data? I can look at tax records, mortgage records, school information, all there under the history tab. And the same way, if I go to charts, more charts and graphs. Do I go over every chart and graph? No. However, I have some charts and graphs at my disposal if I need that to help tell the story and try to get the price where it needs to be. So all of those are there, and we're going to go over to refine value. That's our last tab here. And this is a very important part for us to take a look at because there's some really great things you can do. And I want to just confess my own sin as a real estate professional to you, because right down here, we can refine the value based on home improvements. So if a person said to you, well, John, we put new windows in our house, upscale, and we did that in May of 2015, and we spent $3,900. In fact, I'll just make that mid-scale, although we did buy the higher grade window, so I'll leave it upscale. I'm going to select add, and it added $2,870. Now, why do I tell you this story? Because my wife and I recently put new windows in our house. And
because it shows 656 out of 101.
So someone.
I just joined it real quick. But yeah.
Okay, sorry. We had an RPR trainer that got on the call there, and I just muted him off. So I'm telling you the story about the windows because as a real estate professional, I've had people in the past say, well, John, we put new windows in our house. We've done this and we do that. And you practice real estate for a long time and you write down new windows and you kind of blow them off. I shared with you at the beginning of the presentation that I ended up unemployed, no non-compete clause, no crop, $1 million in debt. I did not file bankruptcy. I worked with all of my creditors, and my wife and I, sold our house, ended up sold stuff, and we sold more stuff. And yes, we sold more stuff. And you know what? It's just stuff. I had my health and I had my family. We ended up in a small little 2-bedroom apartment on the south side of St. Louis where a guy sang Elvis Presley songs at 2 a.m. And you know what? We just fought our way back. And luckily, we had a rental house we owned in Farmington. It was the worst kid on the block. And we moved back in this old rental house that had old carpets. And nobody would give me a loan for anything. Because in their eyes, that's John Mayfield. He went through all this bad trials and tribulations. And yet I paid everybody back and I couldn't get a loan. And my wife and I have saved our money to put new windows in our house and to put a new roof on our house and to put new carpet. And you know what? When people come over, I'm proud of that. And I tell them about that. And I had to say to myself, John Mayfield, shame on you. because you've blown people off for years who told you that. And what I want you to know is you have a tool through RPR right here where you can ask some questions about what they've done and take some interest in what they've done. And don't just write down new windows, give them credit for it and show them over here. Hey, I gave you credit for that newly remodeled kitchen or for that new roof, and show them. And so you're probably thinking, well, why didn't John get 3,900 for his windows? Because depreciation and because of other factors and so forth. And RPR does all that work for you. So that's really a good tool. And I think by showing a concern, what did Dale Carnegie tell us? We can win more friends in 2 months by showing them we're interested in them than we can in 2 years trying to get them interested in us. So use that tool to have a conversation and show people you're listening and you care. And then go in and make adjustments. Our conditions are not bad. This home needs some painting on the outside, needs a little work inside. Lot size is not bad, view's not bad, privacy's not bad, and RPR's made all the adjustments for me. So you can do some really cool things here. And now we're just going to go right up here and we're going to go over to comp analysis. So I select comp analysis. I'm going to select the top one. If you're an appraiser or you do a lot of BPOs, you can check the bottom one. But for this class, we just talk about the top one. Confirm your facts. Remember, what you put in RPR stays in RPR. And now we're going to find comps. 5 steps. Leave this all alone and hit the search button. And RPR is looking for comps within this map right here. So as I scroll down, I can say, I want to use that property. And by the way, it's got a star, which means RPR used it. I want to use this property. RPR used these in the RVM. I get down here and I say, I don't think I want to use that one. It's a little, and I say, I want to use this one. And you say, oops, no, I really didn't want to put that one in. You can remove it from the comps. Okay. So I'm just going to go down and check a few more. We'll add this one and this one. And you would painstakingly go through and pick these out. And if you scroll all the way down toward the bottom, there's tons of solds in this market. I can add a few actives. I can add a pending. I'll add another pending. And I'll go all the way down to the bottom. And we'll add this one. And I'll update the valuation and close. So you want to take your time and really look at the comps. That's why I like narrowing into that neighborhood, but RPR has already done that for you. And now all we need to do is adjust the comps right here. It's our third step. If you're like me, as you get in the 50s, you want to see bigger pictures, you can do that. And I can even scroll through and look at the pictures if I'm not familiar with this house. If I am familiar, and this is where your experience and knowledge of the marketplace comes in, because you can say, I showed this house, and this house was really a lot nicer than my listing. I showed this house, and it was much nicer. So was this house. You're familiar with that house. You come over here and you say, you really don't know much about it. You look through the pictures. I think I'll just leave it the same way with this one. And this house, you say, oh gosh, I showed that house. It needed so much updating. You can drag your bar over. So you do that for each one of your comps. And by the way, down here, I have the notes. And so, right here, I will add some notes right here, which is a good feature for me to, I'm getting that feedback again from the other, sorry about that. So right here, I can add notes. Now, why is this important? Because when I'm going out and going over the CMA with my customer, hope to be client, I can highlight and circle this because they may say, well, John, the house down the street sold for X number of dollars. We ought to be able to get that much. Yes, but that house had new countertops. It had new carpeting. You can say I showed that and it had a lot of nice features. So now I've completed my adjustments, and right down here you update and close. And here I have an adjusted price. If I want to go in and add my own numbers, I can do that. If I say, you know what, I like the numbers that it's throwing here, I'll use that. Your last step is to print the report. Now, I do not email this report. I want to take it out and go over it with them in person. So I'm going to select Get Report, and I can go on and work in RPR while this report's printing. Now, here's the really neat thing. This report's like 70 to 80 pages. I've not had one seller get upset because I bring it out, go over it to them with them at the house, and then all I have to do is email that report to them, and I'm able to do that from my mobile phone. And I would actually show you how I do that as well, but that's in another course. So it gives us a really nice little report. Again, I've got all of this neighborhood information that I can get as well right here, and all kinds of information about people, economy, quality of life, and the zip code. And then right over here is, of course, reports as well, where you get all the reports information. Now, if you'll notice right up here under commercial, you can select resources and, commercial, and that'll take you right here to the commercial side. So there's some really great, and that's another class. There's some really good reports in the commercial side, and I apologize. We're getting an awful lot of feedback from somebody on the call, and I don't know who that is. But
again, yeah, I'm getting a lot of feedback too. Everything that I can tell my end, everybody is muted,
so that must be a go-to webinar. We'll hope this isn't like an Alfred Hitchcock, where we hear about a murder or something, and we're trying to.
Everybody should just double check that they're muted on their end.
Yeah, if you could just double check and make sure you're muted. You probably don't want to have your conversation coming through, but we're about done. We're just got a couple minutes. So some really cool trade reports, and down at the bottom there's a little tab called Blog right here. If you select blog, you will come to this area here, and you can find out more information, whether you're an agent, a broker, an appraiser, or so forth. And you can also access that right in the middle where this graduation cap is. If you select this real property analysis for investors, it's going to take you out to this area where you now have the ability to analyze the property on, if I could buy it at this price, what's my return on my investment? If I can buy it at the middle price, what's my return? And if I have to pay the full price, what's my return? And so you can really do some neat things by adding expenses and income and the photo. And if you've got somebody who wants to resell this or live in it, and they're a real analytical person and they like numbers, and you have that ability to do that. And again, that was right in the middle. I'll go to the summary page, right in the middle of the home page where the little dollar sign is right there. So we have more information with the blog. We have more information on the analysis right there. And I just want to kind of wrap up by telling you this. First of all, don't forget the RPR mobile app. I use it every day. It's a great tool. And we have classes on it as well. So you can download it for the iPhone or the Android. And when I'm showing a property, I always pull it up in RPR so I know a little bit more about that property and share it with my buyers. But I just kind of want to close with this. Remember, It's the message you're delivering. And I just want to challenge you and ask you, are you delivering a dollar bill message when you go out to do a CMA, or are you delivering $100 bill message? I want to tell you what, I've heard people, sellers, when I'm writing up or typing up the listing agreement at their kitchen table, say to me, man, that report you did was real. You put a lot of work into that. Well, yeah, I did put a lot of work into it, but I mean, it's that law of perception. Perception is reality, the law of fundamental attribution error that Malcolm Gladwell talked about in Blink. People really want to work with the expert, with the person who's knowledgeable. And using RPR will allow you to do that, and it will allow you to upstage your competition. You've got to get in there and use it. And I want to be honest with you. You guys are my friends, and I've confessed my sin and told my life story to you. At first, I used this maybe 10% of the time, and my MLS 90% of the time, because I didn't want to have to, like most people, it's like I'm familiar with my MLS, I'm in a hurry. But now I use RPR 97% of the time when I go out and do a listing. Now it doesn't replace your MLS, and I still use my MLS, and I but I use RPR to win more business and get more listings and price them to sell. And I know you can too. So if you need to get a hold of me, I've got one little quick thing. If you want to know, how did you do the digital magazine? How can I help? How can I grow my website or get more people to sign in? Just go to businesstechguy.com, businesstechguy.com. I'm revamping my website. You can go there and you can see my email address. I'm here after the webinar. There's no charge unless you call me every day, and then I may have to charge you something. But I want to help you, and I want you to use RPR. It's a great service. So I just want to give you a quick poll here at the end, and you can tell them if you like this or not. So thanks again. You've been a great group, and hope that our paths will cross in the near future. Have a great day.
Hi, John.
Alrighty. Thank you all, and appreciate it, and have a great day. Thanks, Valerie, for your help. Bye.